My arms ain't long enough. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be working on the new Holland Super 78 baler. This baler is from around 1958 to 1959 time frame. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on the slip clutch here. We've got 2 new friction plates to put in the clutch and put that back together. Inside of this housing right here, down inside, there is the rod that pushes the plunger. And the grease cert that's in there has been broken. And we need to do a repair on that so that we can properly grease the plunger in here. And then if we still have a little bit more time, we may go ahead and work on this section again. I can see I still have another broken pickup tooth there. And then we may end up trying to take the knives out of here again. We tried one other time and couldn't get them out. But where we're sitting now, we got a torch. We might be able to heat that up, get the knife out of there, and make sure it's sharp. But that's what we're planning on doing today, so let's go ahead and get to it. So inside of here, there's one bolt that holds the overrun clutch, and that's what this assembly is right here. This is an overrun clutch, and this is the slip plate, the slip clutch. So this overrun clutch, it engages when the wheel's going this way. It'll grab, see, and go. But say this stops spinning and this continues to spin, you can hear it click. And it allows this to continue spinning when you turn off your PTO. So that's just got a couple pins in there. Let's see if I can pull it out. So you can see there's 2 pins in there, and they engage that little swirl drive right here. I don't know if you can see it. So this side is the other side of the overrun clutch. And you can see the pin will slide around here. It'll grab right here, and it'll drive this in one direction, but in the other direction, it just skips it and doesn't engage. So your clutch plate is held on by a bunch of springs that hold the pressure on the friction discs so that it'll grab and drive the baler. If it gets a lot of torque, this will allow it to slip basically and not tear something up. All right. Dropping all my bolts. So the compression springs are not very tight on the slip clutch because we're going to burn it in. So we're going to hook the PTO shaft up to the tractor, and we're going to kick that on several times, and with that being not very tight, those clutch plates are basically, it's going to spin against each other, and that should polish up the surfaces on the slip clutch. And then after we've done that a few times, we'll go ahead, we'll tighten those springs back down, we'll make sure they're all compressed the same amount. I'm going to go ahead and just tighten up one more full turn, and then we'll try this again. All right, we'll go ahead and give it another half turn, I think. Let's do a half turn this time. All right, looks like I got them all the same length. We'll try it again. All right, I think we'll call that good for now. So when I kick it on like full speed, it takes probably, I don't know, 2 seconds or so before this catches up to the same speed as that. And I don't think that's too bad. I normally would not start it up full blast like that. I would start it up at a slow RPM and then rev up the tractor. So you hit it hard like that, I think you got a better chance of, if this does grab pretty good, you're gonna break a shear pin. So I don't want it to be necessarily too tight, because this is what's gonna protect the machine. So the next thing we're gonna work on is in here. So this is the arm that pushes the plunger back and forth. And right here on this arm, this is a grease cert. And there's supposed to be brass tubing that's supposed to go all the way down here. And it's supposed to go down to this pivot point down here and grease the pivot point on the plunger. And that brass tubing was gone when I bought it. And I ended up putting a grease cert way down in here to grease that. And today what I want to do is, I've got some brass tubing. I want to put a new piece of brass tubing from here to there. That way I can grease it from this point instead of having to reach way down in there. So all these are is just a compression fitting for tubing. So this should be pretty easy install. So this is just 1/8 inch copper tubing. Luckily at my local farm store I could buy it by the foot, so I think I just bought like 5 feet, 6 feet of it, which is plenty. So you just got to put your compression, put the compression nut on there, and then you put the compression ring on here. I'll probably put the back one in first. All right, so I think one reason why it broke off is because it's really easy to hit this frame right here, so we're gonna have to bend it down. Luckily this stuff is very soft and easy to work with. And ride it down in this low area here. So I just got a little bitty set of tubing cutters here. We're going to cut this off. The tubing cutters are nice because they help keep it round while you're cutting it. If you smash the end, you'll have a hard time getting this compression ferrule on the end. All right. We just got to make sure to keep this tubing low so that it doesn't hit. So it's probably going to take quite a few pumps on the grease gun to get the air out and get the grease coming out of the bushings down there, the pivot point down there. All right, that's going to be a lot better now, so I don't have to reach way back in there and grease it. And I don't necessarily have to take this cover off either. So if this arm is in the bottom position all the way down, it actually sticks down below the frame about that far, and you can actually grease it from underneath without having to take any covers off. So as I've been working on this today and I'm rotating it, some of these pickup teeth kept on snapping. You just hear them, they're catching on something and they snap. And I finally got to looking and got under there, and I had a bunch of little sticks jammed into this side over here. And once I got those out of there, now I can spin it and the teeth aren't making any noise anymore, so that's good. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this knife out of here. So the bolts holding the knife on this side here, this is they're flathead bolts, and they've got a hex key fitting in them. And I was able to get this middle one out last time, but not the other two. Now I did soak these with some oil, but I don't know if that's really going to help. Oh well, that one ended up coming loose. Maybe I got that one loose last time. That bottom one's going to be the pain. All right, we're going to pull out the big guns now. Oh crap, I need an adapter. 1/2 inch to 3/8. Hope I got one. Since there's hay inside of the baler back there, I'm going to try the small torch first. If I use the big torch, I'll have to pull all the hay out of there. So it looks like I'm going to have to use the acetylene torch on that last bolt holding in the knife. So I need to get all the hay out of this so it doesn't catch fire. So I'm going to start the baler back up, get it running, and then I'm going to trip this lever back here, and that'll cause it to tie the bale. And then I'll be able to pull this bale out and get all the hay out of the machine before we put a flame in there. Well, I got all the hay out of it that I can. It looks pretty good. I've got a fire extinguisher here just in case. See if we can heat that bolt up. Well, I didn't get glowing red, but I think I got it halfway hot. Well, it turned real easy actually. I didn't even need a cheater bar on it. It's amazing how that torch loosens that up. And it falls out backwards. All right. All right, I finally got the knife blade out of the baler. This sits on the side of the plunger. And yes, a hay baler, a square baler, actually does cut hay. So as the hay gets pushed in front of the plunger goes forward and it cuts the hay off and pushes that cut hay into the bale and packs it into the bale. So there's on the side of the bale chamber, there's actually a stationary blade that this cuts up against. And that side over there probably needs more attention than this one. This one actually doesn't look too bad, but we're gonna go ahead and take it over to the belt sander and we're actually gonna sharpen this up and then put it back on. So you can see I got the knife blade all sharpened up. Sander does a pretty good job. You can see it almost looks like a mirror finish. It's a nice flat surface to sharpen this on, but it did take me a little bit. It ended up taking me probably over a half an hour at that sander. Ended up getting a bucket of water so I could dip this in and cool it down. So then I'd sand for a minute and then dip it, sand for a minute. And took a long time to get all the pits and everything out. And then it ended up, it was slightly cupped. You couldn't really tell it to look at it until you put it on the sander. And it would just sharpen the outsides, and it took a long time to get it flat and get the middle worn down. But I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna bolt this back up here, and then I'm gonna start trying to put all the covers and everything back on, and I think I'm gonna call it a day. Well, I'd say I definitely earned my shower today. I feel pretty dirty, it looks like. So the baler, I'll say the baler's probably cleaner than it's been in a long time. It still looks pretty rough. But man, I blew some stuff out of there I think had been in there since the 60s. So it was pretty caked up, like deep inside of there. So I doubt that any of that had been cleaned out for some time. And you can see it here on the ground. That is quite a mess we have here. But at least the baler's put back together and it's ready for hay season. We didn't get that first cut of hay this year because it all got rained on, and it's just been a rainy year this year. And the way it's going, I'm gonna have a hard time finding 5 days in a row of sunshine to be able to get this hay cut and baled. So I think we'll only end up getting one more cut of hay, or one more chance to get some hay this year. And hopefully it works out okay for us, because I need hay in the barn for our animals. I don't think I'll really have too much extra to be able to sell. So yeah, I definitely need to get a good cut of hay put in the barn. And at least the baler, I'm glad it's ready to go if we have some good weather. So man, I'll tell you what, this is a mess. Look at that. I've got, I think everything in the garage is, I just completely cleaned the garage the other day, right? And now everything in there is covered in dust. It needs blown out here pretty bad. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just put the baler up, get it parked in the barn, and then I'm gonna come out here with the leaf blower, and I'm gonna try to blow as much of this dust out of the barn and then off into the yard. But I think that's it for today, guys. Man, it's been a long day. It's funny, this video is probably gonna be like 15 minutes long, but it's like supper time. I mean, it's taken me all day to get this. I had to leave for bolts. The bolts for the clutch, when I put both clutch plates and stuff inside of there, it ended up being, the bolts were too short. So I had to go back and get some bigger bolts, longer bolts, and put it together. So that slowed me down. And then just getting the bolt out of that knife and getting it out and sharpened, that just was a lot of time involved in those two things. But yeah, it's funny how on a video it'll end up showing like 15 minutes, but I've spent all day trying to go through this baler today. So I think I'm pretty worn out. I'm ready to get cleaned up and ready to have a little bit of supper. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.